Well, here we are. It's Thursday, May 5th, 2022, and this is the review back of the Sotheby sale that took place. There were several sales that took place last week over in Hong Kong, and we're going to go through the results. Results were spotty. To put it mildly, in some areas. Other areas they were really good. So I think a lot of it is sort of the prices that we saw were indicative of the times we're living in. And but we're going to go through the prices and see what did well, what's hot and what's not, and that kind of thing. But before I do, I just wanted to throw out a quick note about the Skinner sale. This was the Jim Dixon collection of Oriental rugs, Chinese carpets and textiles, Chinese silks, Persian rugs, all that business. The live portion of that sale took place yesterday and did unbelievably well. The market just gobbled the stuff up. The estimates were just blown to bits. And sometimes by multiples of 5 or 10. And one of the pieces that did quite well was this rug. We talked about it last week because I just thought it was so wonderful. Is this late Ming Dynasty dragon rug. And it ended up selling for $324,000, which was over its high estimate. And it was very well received in the market. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said, why do you think this rug is going to bring so much? They were kind of surprised because, as he said, most Chinese rugs seem to sell for, $5,000 or something. And I said, well, you have to go over here to Christie's and take a look at what another dragon rug brought from the same period, very similar in its flavor. It has 2 dragons on it, and it's a slightly lighter color. This sold last fall. This was in what was called the exceptional sale. It was last November, I believe, in Paris. And this was an interesting auction. You may not have heard about it, but it was a sale with 20 to 30 really great objects. Not all of them were Chinese. They had a couple of Chinese lots in there. One of them was this rug. They had great ormolu mounted lamps and fabulous mirrors. Just some great objects that were just great on their own. And it was sort of a great opportunity. If you had endless amounts of money, you could have just gone in there and bought yourself some fantastic highly valued, highly cherished things, highly valued things. But this rug sold for €6,888,000 last fall, which is over $7 million US. So when I saw this rug come up, it's missing its outer border. It would have had a border around the outside. It's been cut down. Maybe 5% of the rug is missing in square footage, and it's got a couple of patches in it. But I think the color on this rug was better than on the Christie's rug. I think it was warmer. The contrast in the colors was stronger, and I liked the larger clouds. There were aspects of this rug from a design standpoint that I liked quite a bit better than the sale that was held in Paris at Christie's. But it was missing a border, and I think somebody, regardless, got a fantastic buy. And last week I said, this could bring a lot more than the high estimate. It went over the high estimate. It didn't go as far as I think it could have. And it may be for a variety of reasons. Again, the economy may have impacted it. I don't know. But this rug was bought for $324,000, which is 20 times lower than the price of the rug that sold in Paris. So I think on this, somebody got a good buy. The second leg of this Dixon sale finishes up tonight. It's the online version, and we'll do a walk back through it and talk about the textiles, the robes, or some. And some of the stuff was pretty tatty looking, but early carpets and textiles, anything prior to about 1870 is very rare. Most of the rugs and carpets you see aren't anywhere near that old, and there were some from the 1700s, and it was a very interesting auction. I'm hoping to get something. I left a few bids there. I probably won't get anything, but I'm just for the fun of it, I left some bids. And but don't let that bother you. If you want to go bid, go bid. All right. Now, what happened at Sotheby's? Overall, it was a good. It was pretty good for some of the consigners. Joseph Lau. This was the a part of the Joseph Lau collection. He is the Hong Kong businessman who's been in the media. He got in trouble for bribing a government official in, I believe it was in Malaysia, on a land deal, several $1 million in, I guess, a suitcase full of money or something. I don't know what the deal was, but he was charged with a crime. He was sentenced in absentia to 5 years in jail, and he's sitting happily in Hong Kong because Hong Kong doesn't extradite. So, at any rate, but he has some great. He's selling as part of his wine collection, and because I guess he's down to his last 10 billion, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't act like to say that. But anyway, he's selling off some of his wine collection, and he sold some of his porcelain collection. I don't know if this is all of it. I doubt it's all of it, but he's selling off some of it. It did well overall. Some pieces went for a good bit under their estimates and still sold, which means he was very soft on reserves, which means he wants to sell the stuff. All right, but we're going to take a quick look at a few of the lots in here. One of them was this really lovely Yongchen Marken period peach dish. It was beautifully done, and it sold with the buyer's premium just a hair over its low estimate of 18 million Hong Kong dollars, which is about $2,300,000 U.S. currency, roughly, somewhere in there. I think the exchange rate right now is about 13, was it 8 to 1 or something like that? 8 to 1, yeah. At any rate, this did just fine. And then over to this, the double gored iron red piece that I commented on this because I thought it was so pretty. I thought the color was really, really good. I thought the shape was really, really good. And apparently the buyers liked it too. Sold for $12,475,000 Hong Kong. And that's over the highest, a few bids over the high estimate of 12 million, and that comes out, roughly to about $1.5 million US. But an absolutely beautiful vase, and did just fine. The other things in here, the dragon jar. Let's see here. Is the dragon jar up here yet? No, we didn't open it. This was the Ming Dynasty Yongle period dragon jar. This sold for, actually with the buyer's premium, sold for a good bit, 10% under its low estimate for 42,725,000 Hong Kong. So that means the hammer price on this was around 33 million Hong Kong. But it's still nothing to sneeze at. That the $42 million in Hong Kong dollars works out to over 5 million US. So it was still a very, very good result. They maybe got a little bit excited about the price when they were estimating. I don't know, but a beautiful piece of porcelain, regardless. And the other pieces all did well. The Monk's Cap ewer, the Ming Monk's Cap ewer, also from the Yongle period, sold for in the upper half of its estimate, and so on and so forth. All right, and I think every lot sold, from what I remember, right? It was 100% sold, all gone. All righty. And then hopping along over to the jades, the soapstone seal did really well. This was we talked about this at some length the other day because I just thought this thing was just so beautiful. Goodness gracious, beautifully carved, beautiful detail, Chinlong seal on the bottom of it, and this had to be a record price for a piece of carved soapstone. Period. A carved soapstone from anywhere in the world, just phenomenally a phenomenal result. Brought 153,334,000 Hong Kong dollars, which is about $19.5 million U.S. currency. Spectacular, and but somebody who collects scholars' works or a museum that was looking for a real a holy grail to have, this was right up there. And I was very pleased to see that price. And with this came also this book. This was in another lot, but in the same sale, same segment of the sale. It was just two lots, but they bundled them separately. from the rest of the sales. Qinlong period seal book of the 25 cardinal seals, estimated at $800,000 to $1.2 million Hong Kong, which is roughly 100 to 110,000. It ended up blowing that estimate away and went for about 7 times its high estimate, sold for 8,568,000 Hong Kong, which is about $1 million roughly. And but they loved it. It was a beautiful book. It looked to be in superb condition from what I remembered seeing about it. All the sections, I don't see any tears, no staining. Very, very fine on this beautiful early Chinese paper. And somebody just had, 2 people just had to have it, and only one got it. So there you go. And now over here to the Marchant sale. This sale did very, very well, I think. There were 20 lots, and of the 20 lots, all but 3 didn't sell for whatever reason. And I think it was a very, very good result. So let's take a look and see how they did on a few of the lots. Here we go. The cover lot was this, the chrysanthemum dish, Marken period Yongchen, about 7 or 8 inches in diameter. Spectacular color though, huh? Just absolutely, it looks like raspberry raspberry sherbet. Beautiful, beautiful color. And then you have the Yongchen mark within a white field with a double blue line around it. The second blue line is hard to see, but it is there. And this snow white foot rim, just a wonderfully potted piece of porcelain, and estimated at 2 to 3 million Hong Kong dollars, sold for over its high estimate at 3.2 million Hong Kong. And that works out to about, what is that, about 350 odd thousand dollars US, I guess. And then there was the Yongchen Marken period, they call it a celadon glaze. It almost looks like Clair de Lune, but it is slightly greenish. So I guess that is it. Sold for 3 million Hong Kong dollars, right sort of smack in the middle of its estimate, which was good. I think the Marchants, they've been around for so long, they know the prices and know what to expect very realistically. So if they're gonna put something into auction, you're gonna see probably pretty sensible estimates. Then they're dealers. They're not there to get the stuff back. They want to sell it, and they have a significant collection. So don't be stupid about it. You don't want to put things into an auction, not have them sell, and have to put them up again and again and again and again. It just burns the piece up, and it ends up not bringing anything ultimately. You want to sell it in the first go around. You don't want something to be unsold because people remember that it didn't sell, and down the road, if you reoffer it, it's always going to be that nagging little question in the back of their mind: why didn't it sell last time? All right, this did fine. They sold it wonderfully at, like I said, mid-range of the estimate. Did great. And then there was this also sold right smack in the middle of its estimate. This very, very fine, sort of a roux glaze, roux type, that bluish glaze that you see on Sung Roux wares. These were replicated again during the Qinlong period in particular. He was a big fan of 12th century ceramics, and the imperial studios at the palace began making things, revival pieces of the Sung dynasty during his reign. And sometimes they would put poems on the bottoms of them, and sometimes they put rain marks on them. Other times they didn't put the rain mark on them, but often they did. And here you have it. These were done because the emperor just adored Sung wares. The culture of the Sung dynasty is very romanticized. It was very romanticized during the Qinlong period. Scholarly pursuits and that sort of thing. And here you have this very, very nice vase with, they call these arrow vases sometimes, with these side handles. And ended up selling for 6 million Hong Kong dollars, again, right in the center of its estimate. So that comes out to about 700,000 Hong Kong, 750,000 Hong Kong. All right, and everything else in the sale did just fine. We'll just look back through it. This very, very pretty apple green glazed bowl, Qinlong Marken period, sold for 1 million Hong Kong. These coral red bowls that we had talked about last week, I think we talked about them, maybe we didn't, sold for 2.2 million, again, right in the middle of the estimates. Okay, they had one lot that didn't sell, this one. the yellow and blue ground peach dish. That didn't get off the ground right there. 2.5 to 3.5 million Hong Kong dollar estimate, but I think the let's see here, and this bowl didn't sell. The pink enameled Kengshi the Yongchen period bowl, but it was, I don't think it was marked, so maybe people didn't want it. Any rate, but everything else did great, so bravo on that. And then moseying along over here, this was sort of the big sale. This was the important Chinese jades and so forth from the Dian Tang collection, Gardens of Pleasure, and erotic art from the Berthollet collection. I was absolutely shocked to see that the Berthollet collection, the erotic art collection, which were superb paintings, didn't sell, basically. They absolutely tanked. And I don't know why. Maybe the Chinese aren't big on erotic art. There was even some homoerotic art in there, which is sort of interesting for collectors. But the sale just didn't do well. That segment just absolutely died. Other things did very, very well. But again, it was spotty. It was spotty. You had the famous jade boulder that we talked about last week with all the 6 inscriptions on it, carved beautifully on both sides. Great stone selection, big, and so on and so forth, with a lot of information, estimated at 25 to 50 million Hong Kong dollars. Did sell, but it sold for well under its estimate. But all in, it brought 17,920,000 Hong Kong dollars, which means the hammer price was down around half the low estimate. Ended up, probably around 13 million Hong Kong, but it sold. I think the buyer got himself a great object. It's a lot of money, but it still comes out to over $2 million U.S. currency for a jade carving. So it's nothing to sneeze at, but wonderful, wonderful carving. And again, I think the economy and all that's going on is hurt it. And then you have the Jun Splash Bowl, Northern Sung to Jin Dynasty. This was the bowl that I talked about because the glaze on it was so gutsy. I thought it was absolutely great. And it was estimated at 6 to 8 million Hong Kong. It sold for 7.5 million Hong Kong. But it also had a very, very extensive exhibition history to it, and a lot of interesting owners, well documented, going back a long way. This bowl has been exhibited. It's been photographed many, many, many times. It's one of those one of those talked about pieces in the world of Asian art, and end up selling for just a hair under $1 million, which is a strong price for a piece of junware, a jun bowl in particular, because it's not a rare form. But the color of this was great. And part of the thing is that if you go down here and you have a look at the ownership history, the Alexander collection, the Sir Rex Benson collection, Sidney Moss, the dealer, handled it back in the 50s. The collection of Raymond Riesco, who died in 1964, owned it. He bought it from Sidney Moss, and on and on and on. And so when you have a bowl that comes up that has that kind of long tail behind it, as far as its history goes, certain collectors just have to have it. All right, and then over the Northern Wei Dynasty limestone carving of the Maitreya. Absolutely loved this. I said it last week, 2 weeks ago, or last week, whenever I did the preview. I absolutely loved this carving. Just stupendously beautiful, and ended up selling for $9,450,000. And which is a little over about $1.4 million US. Beautiful, beautiful thing. And then lastly was the Yongchen eel skin glazed Mei Ping vase, Yongchen, or vase with a seal skin glaze to it. And I meant to mention this in the preview because I thought it was wonderful. The banding on it is great. It's beautifully done all the way down, very, very even glaze, and it even had a hole in the bottom. Somebody drilled this at one point, and here you have it. But there you also get a really good look at the foot rim with that black paste that they used to apply around the edges of these foot rims. It's sort of worn off now, but there it is. Still traces of it there, very clearly evident. And that horrific hole in the middle. Had this not been drilled, it probably would have brought, it sold for 1.2 million Hong Kong, which is about, that works out to what, about $150,000 US, 160,000. It probably would have brought in the $300,000 to $400,000 range had it not been drilled. It was a major, major lot. I meant to mention it last week, and I don't know what happened. I didn't, because I just love the color and that very, very unusual banding effect. And you do see copies of these floating around, so be very, very careful. They copy them because they're so extremely rare. But usually the bands they're putting on them now are wider than the originals. These tend to have very thin bands running around the body, upper and lower, these tan lines. The repros, a lot of them, they're making them much wider, which it makes them look kind of silly. Okay, but overall, I think it was, and I'm not going to say the auctions were lukewarm. I'm going to say they were fairly good, but there was clearly some reluctance. I think, and it's because of capital in the markets. With all the nonsense, I don't get into politics because I'm just sick of it. But I think with all of the hysteria in Washington, the problems that the White House is having on so many levels right now, they're just hitting headwind after headwind after headwind. Some of them are their own making. But you've got you've got this horrifying thing in Ukraine, which is a destabilizer for everybody and awful for the Ukrainian people. And they are, of course, much more important than anything we ever discuss on this channel. These are human lives, and they're having a horrible time. And we all hope that ends soon. But you also have other things that impact global markets. So we had the Dow had slid off quite a bit. You have concerns, deep concerns about inflation. You've got the Fed raising interest rates. It's been 10 or 12 years since we had a recession of any serious kind, and they tend to be cyclical in 10-year periods, roughly, 9 to 12-year periods, 8 to 12 years, somewhere in there. It always comes along, sort of a readjustment of the economies, and I think that's what we're in the middle of right now. And you've got the midterm elections coming up, so expect everybody to act like children for the next 8 months, or not longer. And the hysteria about Elon Musk buying Twitter, who cares, and all this other stuff. It's just the whole world's crazy, and we're over here enjoying art because it keeps you sane. It just keeps you sane, But all of that outside noise does impact the amount of money available in the art market to buy, and hardcore collectors will always find a way to buy what they want, typically, but competition may be thinned out a bit. So if you're a buyer or a collector right now, going for the next 8 months or so might be a good time to do some judicious buying for yourself, because I think you're going to be able to find a few discounts around, because a little less competition coming. And I think you're also going to see an increased flood of fakes coming into the market, because they're going to feel it too, and they're going to want to get the stuff converted into cash. So you may see a big increase in fakes and copies turning up on the internet and elsewhere. So be very, very careful going ahead. Be very careful. And those of you on the global that use the global pages, we added another video already over there for the week for those users. And if you subscribe, check it out, because we covered a vase that's coming up at auction that's going to end up in the headlines. It's being sold over in Europe. It's absolutely spectacular Chinlung vase, and I hope you guys enjoy that. That's really something. And have a good rest of your week. Subscribe here if you haven't already, and use the Bidamount site, of course, and the book section and the museum lookups, the forum. If you have questions, let us know. We have a forum you can send in. And you can also, if you have things that you want to know about first, and I don't know a lot of you do it, use that forum. Use the forum on there. The guys that are on the forum that are there fairly regularly all the time are terrific, and they're more than happy to share information also with you. All right, so on the Bidamount.com forum page, and then on the Bidamount Live site, there are lots going on over there too. So thanks so much for watching, and have a great rest of your week. We'll be back tomorrow with the regular video. Okay, bye-bye.